Hi, grade six teachers, and welcome to the lovely month of May. Today, I am going to go through the May Social Studies Pacing Guide and looking at connections within the Pacing Guide and to the other subjects that are happening right now. Of course, you can reach me at samantha.davidson@ecsd.net. I come and support planning, come and model lessons, or we can talk about the outcomes and find some various resources as well. Really important for this month that we understand when we're working with our curriculum that is quite outdated, as we know, that we really truly are working with the term Haudenosaunee. So even though it says Iroquois Confederacy, we are not using that term. So any resources that you have that use that term, I suggest not using those. I suggest, again, explaining to the students that the Iroquois term is French, and the Haudenosaunee have identified themselves as the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. So really, really important that anytime we're talking about it, we are going to be using that Haudenosaunee term. Um, and we're truly looking at this as a democratic case study. So much like ancient Athens, where we're looking at the structure and how society built the structure of and supported the democratic structure in ancient Athens, we're doing very much the same when it comes to the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, looking at how the social structures impacted the democratic structures, how ways of knowing and ways of living impacted decision making, and those types of ideas. So we're looking at the structure of it. So we're going to look at the Grand Council, looking at clan mothers selecting the chiefs, looking at the role of women specifically within the matriarchal society that is the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, looking at how does the Longhouse reflect or mirror the same democratic ideas and the decision making. We're looking at the ideas of decision making based on 7 generations. How does the role and status of women within the Confederacy support the democracy? And then, of course, consensus decision making. So how is that different from majority rule? What are its advantages and disadvantages, and how do we make those decisions, looking specifically at how do we select chiefs and things like that in order to make sure that a consensus can be derived for the decision making. So we are continuing to develop skills of historical thinking throughout this outcome. However, it is important to note that this is a contemporary democracy that still exists today. So it's important that our students understand that as well, that these nations exist and continue to exist and the governance continues to exist. But we can look at some primary sources and some events and issues to truly understand the conception of the structure of it. We also want to continue to look at collaboration and looking at strategies for problem solving and decision making. So, again, this is when we might consider having our students focusing on making decisions with consensus building. How do we generate that? How do we work collectively to achieve a common goal? So, these are some great skill outcomes that fit really nicely with that. If we're working on this through that research process, there are some great resources that are available for you that I've linked at the bottom here. So if we want our students to go through and draw and support conclusions based on a variety of forms, based on primary sources, secondary sources, images, quotes, perspective, things like that, there's lots of resources for that. All right, so when we look into what we've got going on here for this month, we are looking again, continuing with that reading comprehension. It being the time of year where we really start to look at PATs and understanding sources. So it would be great to use some of the images from the books and have students attack those images with the See, Think, Wonder or Connect, Extend, Challenge. Those two visible thinking routines are going to be some important ones to use so that they understand those sources. So really looking at vocabulary, looking at surveying, questioning, reading, continuing on with teaching close reading strategies, and of course, monitor and clarify. So, what is the question asking, or what is the reading truly telling us? That's going to be important. How do we annotate and analyze sources that we have there? Um, Inferencing, especially when we're looking at some of the vocabulary and some of the, I guess, less concrete ideas. It's not necessarily as concrete for students. We can't go necessarily like we can to the legislature. So using inferencing, encouraging them to ask questions and use context clues is going to be very important. We definitely want to continue on with our text structures and writing prompts within this unit. So for text structures for the Haudenosaunee specifically, for these outcomes up here, when we're looking at, we're analyzing the structure. So that is our verb. So text structures that fits nicely would be problem solution, cause and effect, sequencing, things like that, all will help support students analyze this system of government. We can, of course, incorporate types of writing such as opinion, comparison, descriptive, speeches, timelines, sequencing, historical narratives are all there for you. Again, looking at the visible thinking routines to get a little bit deeper into the understanding is circle of viewpoints. So have your students analyze a source, analyze a reading, analyze something from the text from a specific viewpoint or from a specific lens. So you're going to read this from the lens of the clan mother. You're going to read this from the lens of a chief, for example. You're going to read this from the lens of Seneca, right? Those different viewpoints will really help them to understand the structure and truly understand how one of the, I guess, key cornerstone pieces of this is that each nation is made up of a different clan. So not only are they making decisions for their own nation, they want to help to make sure that they're making the best decisions because their family, their clan members might be a part of Mohawk, but they might be part of Seneca, right, nation. So it's one of those nice features that you can look at where students need to understand that that helps with the decision making and ensuring the Confederacy is a large portion of that. We want to make sure that we are including cooperative learning strategies within this as well. So taking apart the reading, creating fan and pick questions, looking at chat stations, doing inside outside circles, getting our students really talking and experiencing through this without just necessarily getting the information directly taught through slides or books and things like that. How much talking are we including in our social studies classrooms? And that's really important here. And then, of course, there's a few different activities here, reading Hiawatha and the Peacemaker, doing Connect Extend Challenge. There's one-pager assignments, and there's some education and portal information there as well for you. Here are some key conversation questions. So again, if you're looking at that triangulation of assessment, what do I hear my students talking about? These are some questions that will help you to understand those pieces. Then we have observations. So really our observations fit within those skills and procedures. So what skill am I observing them? Are they analyzing primary sources? Are they using examples of events to describe the cause and effect relationship, specifically those types of ones in there? And then of course we have our products as well. When we go a little bit further down, we have the resources provided. Again, I really did focus in on resources that only use the term Haudenosaunee, and we're referencing that terminology. This one here is a great video to where there's Haudenosaunee peoples explaining um, why Haudenosaunee is the preferred term. So it's a great video to kind of look at that. Inside the Kayak magazine for this month under Tremendous, they have the Great Law of Peace and the Tree of Peace. They talk about that. And then one of the exciting things is that there is a book bundle of 48 book bundle coming out. And then within that book bundle, so that'll be coming out in School Team Round 5, so that's in May. And so if you have not seen these resources, they are books that look like this. I'm just going to open this one. And there's about 48 of them. And within there, they span social studies, science, language arts, all kinds of ones. But this is an example of what it's going to look like here. So there are quite a few of these that fit nicely with the outcomes this term. So we have the two-row wampum, the Thanksgiving address, the woodpecker, and the Kayanica clans is another great one to use. So those are just some ideas for that. So again, when working with the Haudenosaunee, really important that that's the term that we use. If we are having our students build and create longhouses, looking at truly the learning and understanding of how the longhouse is a reflection of the democratic society and how it showcases equity and equality amongst the nations as well as the idea of common good. You don't want students creating or recreating wampum belts in this case because they are considered sacred memorial texts. So we really don't want our students making the wampum belts, but certainly we can look at them, we can analyze them. We can look at the beating. We can look at the meaning of the two-row wampum belt, meaning parallel. We can look at of course, the Confederacy wampum belt, looking at what do the different symbols mean. So analysis, absolutely, of the different wampum belts, but we truly don't want our students creating wampum belts. That's just one of those sacred ideas and sacred ways of sharing knowledge and information and historical information. So we don't want our students to be doing that. So if you have any questions about this unit, if you want some supports, if you want additional ideas on, how can we create this using maybe some tech, looking at, there's options with Minecraft, there's options in Google Earth. We could do lots of different things with it. The pacing guide only has a certain amount of room. So again, please reach out to me. I am more than happy to come and model any of this in your classroom. Again, support you with some planning ideas, creating a unit plan. We could definitely do all of those things. So feel free to reach out at samantha.davidson@ecsd.net. Thank you so much and enjoy the month of May.